4GH. Just go there, like and follow the pages, and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't, because we have a lot more fun, fearless, and factual content for you on this channel right here. So again, thank you for staying with us. And so as we delve into our story, our main issue for today, I'd like to start off on a rather interesting note. For a lot of people, when they are going for loans, they cite all kinds of reasons. So some would say, well, I'm going for a car loan because I need a car which will help make my work easier. Some suggest that cars are no longer luxuries, they are necessities. Some would say I need a loan which will help me complete a building project or something of the sort. Hence, the justification for such a loan. Now, the question a lot of people are asking is, why do we even need to front such loans for members of parliament? Is it the case that they cannot do their work without cars or without us giving them over $100,000 as a loan, of course, just so they can get a car and commute in our various constituencies? Well, one MP has been speaking on this issue, and he's been itemizing quite a lot of things. We won't go into details of that. We'll just play a one-minute sound clip of that, because the MP has sought to get us to appreciate some of the challenges they go through and why such a facility is very, very important. In fact, one of the key things he speaks about is how MPs travel a lot and go for a lot of funerals, the reason for which they need such car loans. Okay, let's hear this MP in his interaction with Bernard Kokwavle of City FM. So John Kuma, who was previously with the NEIP, now is an MP and a deputy minister. Let's hear him in his justification of why he thinks members of parliament demand or require such huge sums of money as loans for cars.
Government must make use of public services.
I don't have
in the UK. That people use
but you're
public
talking
transport.
About UK.
Yes,
you can just go underground, join the.
They are a wealthier country. Yes.
Yeah.
So, but if somebody who's a nurse is going to save a life, sit in trotro from Kasua to the Lajena Hospital, why does a member of parliament think they are better than that nurse?
We haven't said we are better.
So why should she go in a Trotsky and you go in a V8?
But let me tell you, the member of parliament's V8 is bought with his own money.
Eh? The ex-gratia he gets. But how did he qualify for the loan?
Please relax. You see,
can I get the same loan he got? Who guarantees that loan?
You see, I don't get the point we are making. No, are you saying that you are the same as the member of parliament?
No,
there's a reason why he's the member of parliament.
We are saying that
the loans, the car that he drives, he's buying it with his own money.
When he leaves power after 4 years, how much does he take home? Is that the same the next takes after working for 10 years?
But you, at the end of every week, how many funerals do you attend?
Oh, me, I don't have many.
You don't even attend any. Yes, the member of parliament has to attend.
Is that part of the job description?
Okay, so I repeat that question. You watching, how many funerals do you attend in your constituency? So, that is one of such justifications. There's a lot more, but it's not about picking on personalities or anything. We just want to set the tone right and give context to the discussion. Okay, we've been hearing also from another member of the New Patriotic Party, and Patrick Boama. He's also been speaking on this very issue. We'll take a listen to what he has to say on this recent issue of car loans, and then from there we'll rope in our guests and begin a conversation on this. And then, mind you, today we say we are opening the phone lines, and so whichever views you may have, please do well to couch them. Take note of these numbers. That's 055-033-1511 and 020-473-8481. Once we open the phone lines, you can call in and share your views on the subject matter. First, though, let's take a listen to Patrick Boama as he addresses this particular issue.
Say this on record that the first and the second ladies of this republic do perform serious duties for the state. Some of them are priceless.
Okay, so I mentioned to you that today there are three issues you are putting in one. So this is for the second issue, which has to do with spouses of the first and second gentlemen of the land, and why we are formalizing an arrangement to make sure that they are given some money to should I say, compensate them or to help aid them with the things they do as first and second ladies, respectively. Okay, perhaps we need to kickstart our show. And so let me introduce a few people who will be joining our conversation today. Vitus Azim is an anti-corruption crusader. He's joining in our conversation today. Kweku Segbefia is a lead member for Occupy Ghana. That's a pressure group many of us have come to know in the last 5 years or so. Rashid Pelpo is member of parliament for WA Central. He will also join in our discourse. And then you out there watching will also help share your views on all of these issues we have decided to digest. Right. If you have some comments also you want to share on social media, please do well to share on our Facebook page or perhaps even on Twitter or Instagram, maybe YouTube as well. And we'll be more than happy to go through them. Okay. Let's start though with, I believe Vitus Azim is on the line, right? Vitus, good afternoon. Can you hear me? Okay, Vitus is not yet on. We are getting him on shortly. But Kweku Segbefia is on, and he's a leading member of the Occupy Ghana pressure group. Kweku, good afternoon. Many thanks for joining us on Opposing Views today.
Good afternoon, and thanks for having me.
Right. Kweku, you are with a group of people who defied the odds some years back, went on protest, demanding a lot more for the citizenry, because again, usually what people had gotten used to was the fact that hungry people were the ones who would demonstrate. But Occupy Ghana defied the odds and made a very bold statement that the middle class, whom oftentimes have been described as the deciders of how votes go or how elections are won in the country, they can also hit the streets and demand a lot more from government. And so when it comes to such a setting, or when it gets to such a setup and you begin to hear things like this, what comes to your mind? Let me start by first taking your views solely on the car loans given to MPs. Of course, it's a constitutional thing. It's something we've done over the years. But what is the position of Occupy Ghana as far as this is concerned?
You see, the insensitivity of the ruling class beggars belief. Remember that we have imposed a certain COVID-19 tax. Mm-hmm. If we look at what's happening in the rest of the world, the Americans, for example, are paying their people for the harm done by the virus. But here, we got taxed for the harm done to government revenue by the virus, only for them to turn around and begin paying and continue to be paying allowances and buying V8 to themselves. I don't know how else you can describe insensitivity. And so, of course, the argument that defenders of the regime have put across is that they were already paying anyway, but it looks like because they didn't have legal backing, they are only now trying to provide the legal backing for what had already been done anyway. So they shouldn't take the flak of what's happening. But when you think carefully about it, really, did we even recover? We are in the throes of a pandemic. What has government done for its people within this pandemic? That it believes that it could even impose all those taxes to try and recover simply because government's own revenues did not meet their target during the pandemic year. And on top of that, add that to the public debt. If you must really go down this route, then it speaks really to the insensitivity of the ruling class. And when you think more and more about it, it only makes you angry. You only get the sense that governments only are in for their interest. The opposition 2 days ago went on the rampage screaming for justice and other things, only to go back to Parliament and approve these ridiculous transactions. So then you get the sense that people scream only when they are hungry. But as soon as their bread is buttered, they go there and defend their interests. And when you put it together, you really do get the sense of an insensitive government and an insensitive group of people at the helm of our affairs.
Okay, Kweku, you make some good points
that create problems for people like us
Right.
who want to believe that someone out there thinks about Ghana.
You make some good points, but the highlight of everything you say for me is insensitivity on the part of those who perhaps must be a bit more empathetic to the plight of the, should I say, ordinary Ghanaian. But really, if it is happening, is it that we are upset with the fact that the government is being transparent enough and telling us that this is what is happening anyway, but we just want to formalize it? And it's happened for the past, say, 10, 15 years or so, but we are only formalizing it. And we do not want to hide anything, so we are opening the system up so that you know really what is going in and what is coming out. Why should they be chastised for this?
So now that we know, we are unhappy with it. And I dare say that's the reason why they didn't tell us until now. Now that we know, they know that one day when we find out, people like Occupy Ghana, people like other, CSOs will sue government and get all those monies back under the Supreme Court ruling that ensures that under the powers of disallowance and surcharge, the Auditor General can demand money to be paid back that were not paid by law. So even if they came out to try and finalize it, and of course government and parliament have the power to do so, but it only makes it worse. Simply because you came to rectify it within your period doesn't make the atrocities committed by these unconstitutional payments any more annoying, any more disgusting, and any more insensitive. Okay. And really, this is and people forget, and that's something the MPP government seems to be forgetting. We do not hold you to account simply because you're an MPP government. And that's why you are voted for, because we knew that there was a lot of rot perpetuated by previous governments. And we asked you to clean up that mess. So you don't come forward and legislate to support that mess. Of course, and as you know, once it comes issues of payment, money, creating, looting, and sharing comes before Parliament, there is always a bipartisan approach. It is only when there's political capital to be made out of something government is doing that the opposition would render. And for me, the worst part of it all is that we have an opposition that is only one vote shy of making the majority, or 2 votes shy of making the majority. And we see how they are putting their power to work. That is a big tragedy for me as well, because if you are that close to literally having a majority in Parliament, they even work hard to even elect the Speaker of Parliament themselves, even when the ruling government had won the election. So the power of the minority is one that has not been present to any minority in recent history. And yet, what do we see? The same quagmire of money sharing, of power grabbing, and all these kinds of deals that leaves the average Ghanaian flummoxed and flabbergasted. And so when you think about it, you really do get the sense that the ruling class do not care about you and I. Okay. And if they do not care, it's lawsuits, and so far 2 lawsuits have been filed. Right. One by a TSO and one by the NPP's own Abronia.
Abronia DC, yes. We'll come to that. We'll come to that. I want to read this though. Now, this is a report by, or aspects of the report by the committee. But at this point, I would also like to introduce Vitus Azim, who's an anti-corruption campaigner. Vitus, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I'll be coming to you rather shortly. I just want to go through this rather quickly. But thank you so much for agreeing to join us this afternoon. Okay. Now, this is what the portions of the report read. The administration of President Kufuor, in fact, I'm reading verbatim, so quote, the administration of President Kufuor introduced the extension of courtesies, including the payment of monthly allowances to spouses of former heads of states, presidents, and vice presidents. Subsequent administrations have continued the gesture and even extended them to incumbent first and second ladies. The gesture remains purely humanitarian, to support and, in some cases, rehabilitate former first ladies who were evidently struggling to subsist. However, there is no legal basis for this support. Thus, the committee recommends that the support extended to spouses of presidents, former presidents, vice presidents, former vice presidents be regularized and included in the privileges of presidents, former presidents, vice presidents, former vice presidents. When you hear a recommendation like this from a committee with such astute persons on there, again, I would ask, will it be fair to blame the government for implementing such a thing?
So, I mean, there are many illegalities that the government has been forced to try and regularize. One of them was the seeming extension for the filing of, when it comes to the what the government or what the Auditor General refers to as the Asset Declaration Law.
Right.
And the Attorney General herself at the time was trying to then get some kind of extension for the date or the deadlines for the submission of those ones. And Occupy Ghana, we wrote to them and we even continue. Currently, there's a lot of letters we are exchanging between us and the Attorney General's office concerning what has happened to those laws we wrote to them to agree with, that they were unconstitutional, they were illegal, and we were preparing to go to court over. And so this is essentially what governments do. Once it comes up, and you know, when these things come, sometimes government preempts these actions because they are afraid of CSO backlash, like it has happened to do with the banning of Galamsey equipment. When we complained about the fact that whilst we have no love or support whatsoever for people involved in Galamsey, we screamed ourselves hoarse like government was perpetuating an illegality by banning the excavators. And as we speak, $15 million is what is accruing to us in judgment debt for that unwise behavior of government. And so this is one of those things where government then sees what the threat is and goes ahead to try and see how it can regularize that. But when you're regularizing that, then you are meeting the publicity of that information now meets an angry populace who, one, did not even know of the existence of this arrangement, and two, now that they know about it, they are letting you feel exactly how they would have felt if they had known about it during the time of former President Rawlings. And so now, whilst it probably may be unfair to blame this particular government for what's happening, we hold all of them accountable because unlike we think government is a continuum.
Right.
When it pleases government, they like to remind all of us that government is a continuous process. But when the backlash is against them, then they are happy to single out themselves and say, hey, we are not responsible for this, and that it started from us. If you were people-centered, you were smart enough to understand the pulse of the people in the times within which we are, the timing would have been both inappropriate and the very action of paying spousal allowances and salaries for people we did not even vote for becomes even more annoying. And that seems to be government's difficulty with the anger of the rest of Ghanaians to have this.
Okay. All right, Kweku, thank you. Thank you very much for those thoughts. Kweku Segbefia is with Occupy Ghana. He's been sharing a lot of thoughts on the issue of spousal allowances, that which we are now regularizing. And so they will also be taking those monies. Let me get back to the conversation about car loans and members of parliament. And again, now we are told Council of State members how government has had to go look for money, a loan, just so we can get loans for these personalities. Let me come to Vitus now. Vitus, good afternoon again, and thanks for joining us. Now, Vitus, how much of a concern is it when things like this, and this won't be the first time we are talking about how in a country where we do not even have so much money, we keep spending such huge sums of money on members of parliament. Yes, the justification a number of them have given is that such monies are loans which will be taken out of their ex gratia. So really, if that is the case, why are we so bothered about it, and why are we making so much quote-unquote noise about the situation?
You see, we are concerned. It's of great concern, even if they will pay back everything. But we're not even sure that they'll pay back everything. In fact, they have come out to say that government will take 60% of the principal and the interest. So those giving that excuse that with a loan they are going to pay back, there's no basis for that. It does not hold water. And this is not the first time this has happened. It has happened severally before. Now, let's just look at the reality of the situation. You are a minister of state. You have a V8. You have a saloon car at your disposal. But because you are also an MP, government takes a loan to back up for you. The excuse they always give that, but today you are a minister, you can be removed from as a minister. But why don't we wait until you are removed as a minister for you to now take the loan and buy the car? Secondly, the Mogabis, some people have been there for up to 10, 20 years. should they be giving loans to buy cars every 4 years? Does it make sense that every 4 years you're giving a loan to buy a car, and then every 4 years you're giving to rent a house when some of them are living in their own mansions? Some council of state members were part of the previous council of state, and they are here again. They are saying that they need brand new cars, so you can take the loan at the expense of the state to buy cars for them. And yet you have people lying on the floor. We are looking for loans to buy COVID-19 vaccine. Schools, somebody will say schools, streets and the schools. So does it make sense for us as a country to continue to do this?
So, Vitus, if I understand you correctly, it is not the case that you are totally against it, but for
I am
people...
totally against it, but I'm also saying that at least even if they must do it, it should be reduced to only those that actually need it.
There has to be exemptions of some sort. So, for instance, if you've been a two-time MP, we can say that, well, you do not qualify. If you are an MP who doubles as maybe a minister or a deputy minister, you do not qualify. Is that
the leadership of parliament, they now have official cards.
Okay. Okay. But then again,
Hello?
some would say, some would say, then that's a rather unfair way of dealing with the situation, because we all campaigned as, we all campaigned to be members of parliament. We did not necessarily think we were going to be shortlisted for appointments. And so, if all of us have campaigned and something is due all of us, why then do you say there must be exemptions, that I do not qualify because what? I'm privileged enough to have been given an additional portfolio, which again demands extra work, demands extra effort and the like. So if I'm being compensated on that front, my work as MP must then be what? And so I cannot get the largesse that need to come with my job as an MP, because they are playing both roles anyway.
I'm happy that you are using the word largesse. The argument that they need the vehicle to do their work. There's an MP at any particular time sitting in two cars to do his work or her work. How necessary is it that you have to? Is it an entitlement, or because they want to facilitate your work?
But Vitus, some of these constituencies are quite huge. People would have to commute from one place to the other, and particularly in this era of COVID-19, they would necessarily have to be on the ground, checking on their various constituents, ensuring that people are okay. There was a time when we had to move out, distribute foods and the like. How are they going to transport such things? How are they going to move around and ensure that people are perhaps getting vaccines? How do they know the challenges of the people so that they can communicate it to government? They would have to commute. They would have to use cars.
But that's what I've asked you question. Can the MP sit in two cars at a time? One car as a minister, one time at the same time as a minister and an MP. Can the person sit in two cars or even three cars? That explanation does not hold water.
So if you have a government vehicle, if you're a deputy minister or a minister, whatever, and you are using...
The state has given you an official car.
Right.
That should be enough for you.
But that is for your official duties as, say, a minister or a deputy minister. So if you are going on an unofficial business, you cannot necessarily use that vehicle for that, or you should not, at least. That's what we all know about issues of conflict and the like. And so,
have you verified whether they do? They do.
I don't know whether they abuse it, but ideally,
I have gone to workshops.
Right.
I have gone to facilitate workshops with parliamentarians. And they come there with the official car, the leadership, with official car, official bodyguard, official driver.
I see.
And their private MP cars are parked at home. So what you are saying, I don't agree with you.
Right.
You need one car at any particular time. So I don't see the need, except to say that maybe at the end of the 4 years, the car will become your property and the other one may not be your property. But you see, they also give the excuse that the other arms of government are giving official cards. So why should we also not give an official card to use and hand them over after the 4 years? There was a time at the beginning they were giving MPs were giving houses. At the end of the day, voted to them. You see, in general, as a country like ours, a developing country, We cannot continue to spend so much money on public officials when the ordinary people who have elected them are suffering.
Right.
I think that's unfortunate.
Right.
That we should be spending money and time on this.
Okay. Let me hear the views of Kweku Segbefia of Occupy Ghana. Kweku, you hear Vitus Azim when he makes a strong case that, listen, we are not at that stage where we can spend lavishly on some of these things. Elsewhere, in more developed settings, where they perhaps may even have the resources to do such things, they do not even engage in such expenditure. So why are we so keen on spending when we do not even have to begin with? Do you drift towards his points?
Yes, I totally agree with Vitus Azim on all the points he's made. And I mean, that's exactly what I refer to when I refer to government insensitivity at this time in particular. We've been borrowing. I mean, we are currently struggling to maintain the strength of the cedi against the dollar.
Yeah.
We have come up with artificial systems to try and keep the rein on the dollar, and those things don't seem to be working exactly, because whatever it is, we still give out more. We import literally everything. And so once you do that, your imports exceed your export, then obviously you will have an exchange rate deficit, among other factors. And on top of all that, we constantly have to go out into the international market to borrow just to keep our balance sheet in an appreciable equilibrium. And so it's on top of all this, in spite of all these challenges, price increases here and there, you still somehow have the money, or you think you can find the money to serve the interest and the personal interest only of the ruling class. Then you are walking a certain line that Ghanaians take exception to. And this is really what is accounting for the backlash currently ongoing, because people aren't happy with what government is doing. And we don't care whether this started in 1957 or whether it started under the previous government. We want it to stop, or we want it to make sense. And as we speak, all these emoluments and D8 and vehicles and so on and so forth that we are giving to members of parliament, all the members in both sides of the house want these things. But these things are their personal work. The question perhaps we should all ask ourselves is, what has your MP done for you recently? And if the answer is nothing, then absolutely you do not want to be burdened with the tax of having them going for loans that will come up with interest that the state will at one point or the other be forced to pay. And so I mean, it obviously makes sense that a lot of people are suffering, and that these people trying to enjoy at the expense. What is making me even more angry are the introduction of taxes to stabilize what we feel we lost during the COVID time. And that while those taxes are being paid and charged on to innocent businesses, government somehow has the presence of mind to acquire funds to serve the interest of the ruling class. That, to me, is a betrayal that's unpardonable.
Let's look at the way forward now. Now, there's a proposal by Ningo Prampram MP, Samonate George, suggesting that they are the only Article 71 office holders who are having to take loans to buy cars to do official work. And so, at best, government should buy cars, like a pool of cars, where MPs can tap into that pool and will not necessarily have to go for loans to buy such cars. I want to just read bits and pieces of what he put up on social media, and let's see whether perhaps this may be a better alternative to the current arrangement we have. Now, this is what he says. Supreme Court judges have Land Cruisers. They were not given loans to buy their Land Cruisers. Ministers of state have Land Cruisers or official vehicles. Yesterday, you saw in the papers that another facility is being taken by the executive to acquire official vehicles for members of the Council of State. MPs are the only category of Article 71 office holders who are not given an official vehicle. So if the agreement is that we are given a loan to purchase official vehicles, I think it is very wrong. My position is that the government should take steps and get us official vehicles to perform the functions of our office in the next 4 years, like it is done for all the other categories, he said. Will this likely be a better alternative to the existing status quo?
an MP's duty is to legislate, to sit in parliament and pass laws. That's what an MP does. Every now and then he may get involved in some kind of activism or development-based activism to bring some kind of development to his area.
Right.
But the traditional role of an MP is to make law. What duties does an MP perform? And this is not to say that there's any wisdom in government acquiring vehicles for council of state members, whose, again, duties are what again? So if you're putting it together with all the political rules created by Article 71 and, other parts of the Constitution, then you do get the sense that it's not your job to bring development. Your job is to legislate. Once in a while, you may have to travel to your constituency to solicit the views of your constituents on a matter of law before the House. Why does that require turbo engines and V8? So his proposal is preposterous on the face of it, and of course it goes definitely to damage control, trying to shift the blame of this on the executive. And when Kojo Ofonkoma spoke, he was very clear in his mind that it was the Parliament that passed that. It was Parliament that is the sole responsible initiator of the current anger against the government. But that really speaks to the whole point. If we all understand that MP's job is to pass laws, what business do they have looking for vehicles that are typically assigned to people who are really on the ground working hard to bring actual development to the people? And so on so many fronts. And then again, if you're looking at the decentralization process, where there are district chief executives in the areas who are directly responsible for the development of their areas, then it brings to naught nothing. It brings to naught everything that he has said. And we know what MPs do with their V8. They push us and bulldoze us all off on the road in Accra. Okay, so if you're doing all this in Accra, when are your constituents going to benefit? So our challenge to him is that his proposal, is rejected on the face of it, and the fact that we think that MPs should now be much more serious about passing laws, because they have absolutely no business getting involved in the development stage, because that's not what MPs do.
Okay. Let me hear from Vitus, though. Vitus, so again, I think in specific reference to the proposal by Sam George, many would say, well, he makes sense. Does he not?
Well, you see, the point is this. From the argument that my friend is giving, the Supreme Court judge sits in the Supreme Court, doesn't even need all of that to just come from one and go back home. So I think that when we are looking at democracy, the advanced democracy, we should even stop this idea of comparing houses, bungalows, and cars to public officers. They should buy their cars, rent their own house, and live there. And whatever it costs is included in their emolument. Secondly, if that is not even possible, the type of cars that we buy for the public officers is unnecessary. $100,000 for a car. There are cars that are cheaper. That's about half of that price as well.
I think the concern with that has to do with the cost involved in buying cars which are durable enough and can withstand a lot of impacts should they be involved in accidents.
Quick cars.
So if
the cars that are using don't really get involved in accidents.
Yes, they do, but because of the durable nature of such vehicles, the impact is likely lesser than getting a relatively cheaper car.
It's not durability. It is comfort and a show of power.
I see.
If you drive a Toyota pickup or a Nissan Navara pickup, is it not durable? That can't be as comfortable as it has a radio, it has air conditioning, it has those things. It's something like, because you are at a certain level, you think it must ride in a particular car. V8 is associated with a certain class of citizens. And if you have the money to do it yourself, but it should not do that for you. This is the point that I'm making.
I see. Is there, well, it's a rather weird question I'm going to ask, but is there hope for the future? Because when I hear Kweku speak, Kweku makes reference to the fact that the NDC in Parliament is just short of 2 votes to be in the majority. That suggests that they are a very powerful force to deal with. And in fact, when the outcome of the 2020 elections was out, a lot of people said, aha, this is what we want, so that the legislature can put in check the executive. It does not appear to be the case in the past several months since such a thing happened anyway. So for the many who are sitting back at home and watching some of these things play out, should they be confident in anything changing? Should even a new government take over?
There is no hope as far as the two political parties are concerned. It started from the time the 1992 Constitution. But got some of these things enshrined in it. These two political parties cannot bring any change that we want, that will benefit the ordinary citizen. Especially as it has to do with reducing their enjoyment. The hope is for third parties, which some of us have been calling for. We need a third political party that will serve as a threat. Even if it doesn't win power, it will serve as a possible future government that will make some of these politicians sit back and think and reflect and see whether what they are doing can go against them in the next elections. But as far as they think that, even for 8 years is good, I'm there for 8 years, even if they give it to the next people, I'll wait for another 8 years and come back. And there are people that were ministers during, let's say, Rawlings' time, or at a minister, people were ministers and holding certain positions under Kufuor, and they have been brought back. Some people were dismissed, they have been brought back. So it's like just relaxing for 8 years and coming back. And that's all they think about themselves. How can you imagine that a minister or an MP goes to take a scholarship to go out for just a 3-week that course? That has nothing to do with being an MP or being a minister.
Right. Okay. Vitus,
and people come out and justify that, they are career. What should they be entitled to?
Okay.
That's why the get son was created.
Okay. Vitus, I would like to thank you so much. Vitus Azim is an anti-corruption campaigner. You heard him espouse those views, very strong views though. We are really grateful he took time off to join us. We are going to have one MP join us pretty shortly. The Honorable Rashid Pelpo is the Member of Parliament for Wa Central. And we'll hear his views on a few of these things. And then we give you, watching now, the platform to share your views. I've seen a number of comments on Facebook already, some rather interesting. I think you can also share yours. If you go to the Facebook page, is at MX24GH. Share your comments with us and we'll share it with the rest of the world. Kweku, what will it take, for instance, to have a third force strong enough to topple these two political parties who many say are ping-ponging with Ghanaians?
I'm not sure if it's the political parties that are the, as it were, the bane of our development. Because, I mean, we've tried military government and anything but that, okay? And so this political experiment is really young. But if you have a third party, I can guarantee that elements of Party 1 and 2 will switch and join Party 3. And then the same cycle of vicious create, loot and share, greed, and all the things we complain about will be perpetuated. But what we really need is a leader. A lot of people are disappointed in this particular government because they had hope in the president, the candidate who stood at the time. He spoke on the case of incorruptibility, both personal incorruptibility to begin with, and a certain fearlessness and a discipline that we thought would have been brought to bear on both the party, which is obviously is a corrupt mechanism within the political process, and the rest of the state, and of course on civil servants. But all you see is the political elite, or the ones we elect, pander to political parties. This has exhibited itself in how we address the Galamsey Menace, and it also showed itself on how we've conducted ourselves so far. So it's not so much the political party that's the problem. It's the type of leadership that is required. If you have the right leader, the parties will have no option than to follow in line. But often, because it's the party that makes the man comes out and becomes an appendage of the party, and everything else depends on how the party will look
and how the foot soldiers will lack resources if those anti-corruption policies were implemented to the letter. And so this is really what the problem is. While the parties have become the drain for all the putrefying sauce that we have seen and smelled within our body policy, you do get the sense that it's a lack of leadership. And if you have the leader that is determined to do the right because it is right, then you would have had a populace that will follow suit, and everyone else whose job depends on the right doing will be put in line because they know that there will be consequences for wrongdoing. But because there are no consequences, the rich do whatever they want. The most powerful have a set of laws applying to them, even when we are all about to die, like in the presence of a pandemic. Rules apply differently. The rich and wealthy can have funerals without social distancing, while poor people cannot even demonstrate to show that they are unhappy with the way the country is going and that they prefer the country to be fixed. And so when you put it all together, what we lack is leadership. And we are not seeing it in any of the two parties. The biggest disappointment obviously being the present party. And so when you put it all together, you do get the sense that, yes, and then you are like Vitus, you may get despair. What we need is a leader that is unafraid, a leader that can do right by the people of Ghana. Right. Sadly, we've been lacking in that type of leadership for as long as I remember.
Okay. Kweku, many thanks for your time on Opposing Views today. Kweku Segbefia is a lead member of Occupy Ghana, a pressure group in the country. You heard him there with those views also. Time now for us to give you the platform. Remember, there are two things. You can either choose to comment on the issue of the spousal allowances or the issue of the cars for MPs and Council of States. Whichever views you have to share on these two issues, please. The phone lines are open now. 055-033-1511, 055-033-1511, and 020-473-8481, 020-473-8481. There are a few comments on Facebook. I think I'll read a couple of them, and then we can start taking your calls. Ernest J on Facebook says, with a miserable administration like this, look at what they are even doing on top of it. Shaking my head. They all are confused and inconsistent. Masa, let's sell Ghana and let me take my share. Okay. Don't give up. You appear to have given up already. I don't think you should. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. Some of these challenges are expected. A lot of people compare Ghana to places like the United States and the like, but their democracy is over 200 years old. They have tried and tested a lot of things, and they appear to have now found a winning formula. So hopefully with time, things will get better here. But like I said, the phone lines are now open. Share your views on the issues. 055-033-1511 and 020-473-8481. Now, before I start picking, the numbers are on your screen actually, so you can go ahead and take a look at them in case you didn't hear me as I spelled or as I mentioned them. But I'll take them one last time: 055-033-1511 and 020-473-8481. We have a report which has collated a number of things that have happened as far as the spousal allowance, for instance, is concerned. Now, a member of the New Patriotic Party is one of two persons who have even sued, should I say government? Yes, who have actually sued government on this issue. Abronye DC, most of you know him because he's quite a loud mouth, and so he's had a lot to say about it, and he's gone on record to actually even sue government, insisting such a thing should not happen. We'll go to that in a short while, but we have a caller from Tamale now. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sorry, I didn't get the name.
I'm called Ibrahim.
Ibrahim from Tamale. Ibrahim, go ahead. Let's hear your views, please.
Yes. I have a big problem. I have a big challenge or problem with the issue of this cars, especially the Council of State.
Yes, the Council of State, yes.
So what are we trying to do to them? Let's look at the number of cars we are going to buy for these elderly people. Over 70, 80 years people. What contribution are they going to contribute to make it? Abba, why? My brother, if I tell you, since 2018, the new syllabus, the curriculum for basic education It has changed. Up to now, no single textbook. No single textbook. Ghana, our politicians are not worried about what. How am I going to put it, my brother? It's very painful. And look at the money we are going to use to buy cars to those who have already having 4, 5, 10 cars. For what again? Meanwhile, look at the kids, our future leaders. Our future leaders, just a common textbook for them. Ghana cannot get it. More than 2 years now. Why our position? Why are they doing this with the young ones? God Almighty Allah is watching them, and I'm telling you. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, Ibrahim from Tamale. You can also share your views, just as Ibrahim has done. 2 numbers on the screen right now: 055 033 1511 or 020 473 8481. Let me now introduce that very sound clip, which highlights the existing situation as far as the spousal allowance is concerned, the report on it, and how 2 people have sued government on the issue, thinking that it's not something that should be allowed. So here you go. Okay, we just showed you a bit of that very SOT. The calls are coming in, so have been asked to put a hold on this so that we can attend to the calls. We have a caller from Takrady joining us now. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
I didn't get your name, please.
My name is Prince.
Prince from Takrady. Prince, let's hear you. Let's hear you, Prince.
Why the fuss about this whole car loan for MPs and council of state? I think the whole issue is about timing. Is it what we need right now as a nation to be going for loans to buy cars for MPs and the council of state? There's no problem if you buy cars for them, but the whole issue is timing. Is the time right? Because you are in a nation where you are just struggling to get COVID vaccines for patients in Ghana. We are in a state right now where the youth are very angry about unemployment and a whole lot of issues that even brought up the Fix the Country campaign. Is this what we really need right now as a nation, to be going for loans to buy cars for MPs? That is what's creating the fuss about this whole issue. Thank you very much. I think the MPs should reconsider their decisions on going for that loan to buy cars for themselves. They could use that money to do something better for the nation.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prince from Takrady. John from Tema. John, good afternoon. John from Tema. John. Okay. John, good afternoon. Okay, I think we've lost him. Is there another caller from Asante Mampong? Is there? Hello, good afternoon. Okay, we've lost that particular caller as well. Your calls are coming in thick and fast, and we are going to try as much as possible to, in the next few minutes, give you the platform to share your views on the issues as have been discussed so far. You've heard. Okay, Kwame from Cape Coast has joined in our conversation. Kwame, good afternoon. Hello, Kwame, can you hear me?
Hello, this is Emmanuel.
Emmanuel from Kumasi. Emmanuel, good afternoon. Let's hear you.
All right, so we're looking at this issue from the emotional aspect of it, and we are not actually looking at it from the Constitution. So we go back to the Constitution and we know what is there before we can actually judge or be upset. I'm not saying people shouldn't be upset. People should be upset. That's the way. But then that is not the way to address the issue.
Right.
You know, this event to First Lady, Second Lady is enshrined in our Constitution. And all our sentiments were actually considered before this official thing was passed. by the government.
Sorry, on the issue of on the issue of the first and second ladies, that is not in the constitution. On the issue of making these monies available for the car loans, perhaps that may have some constitutional backing. But even with that, the argument a lot of people have raised is in such times as this, there are caveats in the constitution which allow that perhaps we suspend certain things. For instance, there's a Fiscal Policy Act in there which suggests that we can't borrow beyond a certain threshold. But because of a pandemic like COVID, we had to suspend it so that we could do a lot more. So, again, that argument must also be considered as you make your point. But go ahead, please make your point.
Sure, I agree with you. But then what I'm saying is that there is the office of a first lady and a second lady.
Right.
You get it. And you are actually rendering a service to the state. So unless, of course, there is a affirmation that we are going to close that office,
right,
then we can say what they are doing, their ceremonial duties are not necessary.
Okay.
So let's close it off, so then they will not receive anything.
Okay.
People are actually being emotional about it, thinking that, oh, I've not been paid enough, I'm not satisfied. So if there's somebody else somewhere being given this amount, it's wrong.
Okay.
You get the whole
thing.
Right,
I get you.
There's nothing wrong in here.
All right.
The only thing is that, as you said, the timing.
Okay.
And the time that we are in now.
Right.
COVID situation that we are in now.
Okay. Thank you, Emmanuel from Kumasi. Let's go to Bole. John is on standby. John, good afternoon. Aaron from Bole. Aaron, good afternoon. Okay. Aaron's line has tripped there. Rather unfortunate. But Emmanuel did raise some rather interesting points that unless we want them to remain spouses who don't engage in any activity, they are just there. Fact, though, is I know of companies, some with extensions in Ghana, who pay spouses of their employees because the work takes a toll on their employees so much so and gets them to travel so much. And so they pay their wives as compensation for the time away. So that's also part of the argument we must consider. Let's go to Aguna Swedo. We have a caller on the line. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I didn't get your name, please.
I'm Archibald.
Archibald from Aguna Swedo. Let's hear you.
From Aguna Swedo. Yes,
right.
Please. I want to share a little concern about the president and the vice president, their wives, about the money, concern the money. I think Article 71 talks about public service and their pay, but concerning what the arguments are brought here and some other people are raising, if we can abolish the office of the president and the vice president, I mean their wives, the office, and focus more on the money, the allowances, they are actually being paid, and their money, I think, is being called allowances, but not paid. We can't put them on payroll, but actually they having their office, they must be given allowances. So if now they want to, let me say, make everything, constitute it, and make it as a pay, I think it's not good. It's actually not good. And about the cars, I think what we have to do, we need to limit the number of, some of them have their cars, but the new members, the new elected MPs, we need to focus on them and buy them new cars because some of them are from a quite long journey, moving to Accra, Parliament, and a whole lot of things. Some of them don't even have cars. So I think we need to focus on them. Then cut off those that have already. Let's focus on those that don't have, so that the number will reduce.
Okay, Archibald.
That is my little comment.
Thank you, Archibald. Let's go to Cape Coast now. Kwame is on standby. Kwame, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Kwame, let's hear your views.
Please, it's about the car loans for the MPs.
Okay.
We all know this country that we are in and how we take things. Let's say if any MP is to go to any bank in this country for a car loan, what bank will refuse a car loan offer from an MP? They will just disburse the loan for the MP as well. So why don't we advise the MPs to rather go to these banks? Because the banks are even always advertising for people to come for loans and all that. So if this is the case, why don't we advise the MPs to go to these banks? We can even talk with some of these banks. They can come, give them good offers. They go for the loans and purchase the cars themselves. Rather than spending the least we have to work on other things in the country on their car loans. And we all know if these monies are disbursed for the MPs from we the taxpayers our money, it's never going to be retrieved back. Even there are projects that NDC did that NDC has ignored. So just imagine if these car loans are given to them and there is a change in government, do you think they will go after this money? We've lost the money.
Okay.
So this issue is something that we should never agree to it.
Okay.
If the MPs need cars, there were lots of banks advertising on people going for car loans.
Right.
He can go to any bank and just go get money for their cars.
Thank you very much. Kwame
shouldn't be taxpayers our money.
Right.
And please, one other thing. This is the country that we are campaigning on. It's not something for just the youth. It's as if it's only the youth that we are pushing in always for the country.
It's for everyone. So we must all get in.
I'm really surprised. There were lots of people, influential people in the country. There were lots of big people, like the likes of the Asante Ken Otunfuo. Despite, we have a lot of big people in the country that when something is going wrong, they can just involve themselves and question whoever is involved.
Right.
But I think they are all new.
Okay. Kwame, thank you very much. Kwame from Cape Coast is our last caller. Just a quick one on the issue he had raised about banks open to some of these things. Yes, banks are open to these things, but usually when it comes to politicians and people around political figures, rather popular political figures, banks are quite some way when it comes to them. So unless there's a guarantee from, say, the government of Ghana or some other institution of state, banks would ordinarily not want to give out loans to such persons. So it's a bit more difficult for politicians to access some of these loans because they are classified as politically exposed persons. So themselves and people around them are politically exposed persons. And in the banking sector, it's not really advisable to advance a lot of loans to such people. And so that's a bit of clarity I just wanted to bring in. But thank you all for taking time off to call in and to send your messages and to watch us for today's edition of Opposing Views. My name is Kwabena Chencheni Boateng. We've heard you've mentioned it a number of times, that the show is Opposing Views. We should give you the platform to share your views. So we are going to make this a constant feature as much as we can so that at every particular point in time, we can allow you to share your views. Many thanks for watching.